Okay, I think Binti is aligned now. Yeah, one is good though. Big man Binti.
Good evening, guys.
Yeah, good evening, welcome.
Good evening.
Yeah, let's just hold on for maybe 3 minutes more just to allow more people to join in.
Okay. So I think while we're waiting, one thing I would like to have as well is maybe expectations from people, right? You know, a lot of people are coming into the meeting with an expectation. So we can probably drop that in the chat box. I believe there's a chat box here. So
Yeah.
So that would help as well. So what are your expectations like coming into a meeting like this? You probably have an expectation, you know. I've had people come to tell me about, oh, I'm in debt, right? And how do I get out of debt, right? That's a personal finance conversation as well. Or it's more like I want to know what to invest in. I want to know how to invest my money. Or I don't have the discipline to invest, right? Things like that. We can share that. Like I just want to know, I just want to sample expectations before we go into the meeting proper. I think while we are waiting for others to join as well, like we should put a time to it as well, like waiting for others to join. Maybe we kick off by 5:40, this 5:34, something, or 35. I don't know. We need to put a time to it.
Okay, this 5:34. Okay, we can just start by 5:40, but pending that time, just let us know what you're expecting from this conversation today. I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting one. You are really going to learn a lot. I mean, we all know Yinka Joseph, you know. So just drop whatever you're expecting in the chat box, and then we proceed from there. So we have about 6 minutes for that.
Someone said he's just here to learn. Interesting.
Which is also good.
Right. So we're going to learn together.
Yeah.
Viable investment options. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Great. Viable investment options. Let me just put that down.
Yeah. While we're doing that, please, whatever question you want to ask, just note them down. You know, as the talk begins, we're going to have opportunity to drop those questions in the chat box, and then we'll answer a lot of them. We'll try to keep it very short. Nonetheless, we'll still try to ensure that as much as possible we cover all the questions that we can actually permit today. You know, then whichever one we are not able to respond to, we're going to probably respond to you personally. So we have I think 5:40 is too long though.
Yeah, I think it is too long.
Yeah. So okay, I think we just kick off from here. Okay, somebody else has dropped a comment to learn how to run personal finance and investment options to go for. All right, I think a lot of people are interested in investing, which is also very good. All right, without wasting much of our time, so basically, I know some of us have attended this talk show. We have done two, you know, so people have attended, some people have attended both, some have attended just one. While for some, it's just this is the first time, you know, attending this talk show, which is quite good. And I mean, what we have done so far, we have really enjoyed it. It has been so insightful. We talked a lot about achieving goals. We talked about relationships, you know, with considering mental health. You know, it has been very interesting. And today we are going to personal finance, which is a major topic because a lot of people struggle with personal finance today. You know, people don't invest. They think they earn so little that they can't afford investing. Some people rely too much on borrowing. You know, I mean, they borrow more than what they need, or you know, why some people are, you know, because of peer pressure, they spend on things that they don't need to impress people that don't really care about them. You know, all those things. We're going to get a lot of insight today from Yinka Joseph. And like I said, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat box. We're going to take them after Binti has, that's his nickname, has completed the talk. So we'll try to keep it as short as maybe 40-50 minutes. We don't want it to be too long, because after this, we're also going to post on our social media channels. So basically what Cerebral Talk Show is all about is just to help us to understand life better. Since I mean, it's a class name, Cerebral, and since we all graduated, some people have thrived in one aspect, while other people are still trying to also thrive in that line. So we believe that with the network that we have, we can always learn from the people that have done something that we want to achieve, and with their help, we'll be able to also achieve that for our own self. So without wasting much of our time, I'll just allow Yinka to take us through what we need to learn about personal finance. Over to you, Yinka.
Yeah, thank you, Akintoye. Hope everyone can hear me. Like I said at the start of this presentation, really, it's going to be an interactive session. Like the name implies, personal finance is personal, right? Like the way Oju to Kosimi and you look me, like if that's Yoruba, apologies for using vernacular. Like the way I'm seeing personal, like I'm seeing finance, might be different from the way to apply to you. So it varies across board. But there are some key principles that we need to look at, right? That still cut across. It's a standard that when it comes to finance, when it comes to investing and all of this, I've seen that we have gone past the cerebral consistency now. A lot of nonsense. Yeah, that's fine. Like again, it's open to general public. It's not just for the class. That's something to note as well. So this is a conversation that is useful for everyone at every stage, right? For most of us, we're probably at mid-level of career or early stage career, entry-level career. So this cuts across. Even for undergraduates, this conversation is still important, right? And really, personal finance, it's personal. That's all. Like we're done. Like finance is personal. It's attributed to you. Like there is no one size fit all formula. If you ask somebody else, you speak to somebody and you say, oh, how much of my income should I invest? Somebody might say, oh, for me, I think it's 100,000. Another person might say it's 200,000. Again, it's relative, right? It depends on the income that you have and all of that, right? It's a relative statement. So people talk from a relative perspective. But in all of this, there's one unique thing that's it's constant, is money, right? Money is the constant thing. We're all dealing with money when we talk about finance, right? And the way I say it is, there are two things you can do with money. Generally, there are two things you can do with money. You can either spend it or invest or save it, right? So those are the two options. You either spend or save or invest, right? Save or invest, spend or do giveaway. And you can spend on, you can do all of these things. So that's part of what you do with money. So you can use your money and do giveaway to people, give it out to people, and you can use it for charitable stuff, right? And spending, and that basically tells you what you can, it channels the course of this conversation. So if you are going to look at personal finance from that perspective of, there are two things you can do with money. You can either spend or invest or save, right? So how then do you manage that process? So, and we all know, for everybody on this call, you all know that the only way you run into debt is you are spending more than you are earning. That's the only way you run into debt. And generally, for those that are finance related, that have a finance understanding, right, you would agree with me that debt is not a bad thing. Let's start from there. No, so it's not a bad thing, but there's a bad kind of debt, right? And that's why in Nigeria today, even Nigeria as a nation, we borrow money, right? We borrow money from people, from investors, right? So it's not bad to look at that. But first thing first is, before we even talk about investing, for those that are looking at personal finance from the investing perspective, right? Before we even talk about investing, that is, you must have excess that you are saving, right? You have to have excess, like you have to be spending less than you have in income before you can think about investing or saving. That's one ground rule, right? That's one ground rule that everybody knows, that before you can think about invest. So then that means the first thing we need to tackle is expenses, right? Our expenses, what you're spending money. So that's the first thing. And to tackle that, I think over time at least I've worked with the people building discipline and all of these things. And one thing that I've seen, and it's a constant, to be honest, like it's surprisingly a constant. It's even surprising because like group, right? Most of us are accountants. But again, this conversation is beyond the scope of Cerebrals, right? For those that are non-accounting and all of that. So the point there is, it's surprising that you go through that account, and at the end of the day, you don't even use it in your personal life.
Yinka, I don't know if you can hear me, but you are freezing. I don't know if it's from my hand. Can somebody confirm that Yinka is freezing?
Yeah. I think the network is quite bad.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, putting me to the wall, Ashwin. Okay, I think I'll just reach out to him personally to let him know, because he could still be talking like this. Probably somewhere in Ogun State.
Hello.
Hi, Yinka. You are freezing.
Network.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Are you in Ogun State?
I'm in Lagos. But network issues is constant. But yeah, back to what I was saying, right? Spending, right? It's surprising that a lot of us we don't keep tabs on our spending. It's very surprising. Like that's a constant. And I can understand it's a fast-paced world. We might not have that luxury of every time you spend, you're keeping a record. It might not be as easy as that. But what I tell people is it's easier now. It's easier today, right? And the reason why it is easier today to track your spending is if you are the kind of person like I am, I rarely do cash expense, right? I rarely do cash expense. Most of my transactions are always card related or bank related expenses. Even when I'm using ride-hailing app, I see people they do cash trip and all of that. I don't like doing that. So there is a reason why I do that, in order to keep tab on my expense, because I know that I probably do not have an Excel. I know people go through this train of saying they create an Excel file, to track their expense, which is good actually. For me, what I do, and it's a life hack actually, what I do is just spend using my debit card or using my bank transfer most times, and that way I'm able to use just do a bank statement to download the bank statement to keep tab of how did I spend my money for that month, how did I spend my money for that week, so I have a track record of all my spending, right? It's a way of keeping tabs on my spending, and I know I can highlight. You can do a 6-month financial summary today. Most banking app today, you can easily get that, like 6 months 6 months bank statements. You can get that easily, and that will just run you through. And it's very interesting, especially for salary earners. It's very interesting in the sense that you see one major inflow, bam, the rest is outflow, debit alert, right? That which is what we complain about. When you step outside of the house, it's debit alert that is pursuing you. So you just see a lot of outflows, and you can look through that statement. You can download the PDF. You don't need to print it out. You can look through that statement, and you see things that you probably are spending money on and you don't need them, and you see them reoccurring, and you tend to, it's one thing. It's about mindset when it comes to spending as well. Because once you take a mental note of it, that this thing I think is an excess, and I've noted it, then you can easily cut them off, right? So that's very, very important when it comes to spending, tracking, having a budget and a plan. But generally, when it comes to personal finance, I think there are two key things actually that we need to note. Two key things for me. When I talk to people, I tell them there are two things you need to note. One is discipline. You need to have discipline. Right, you need to have discipline, and you need to be patient when it comes to investing. When it comes to, it applies to both sides. We've started this conversation saying that there are two things you can do with money. You can either spend it or save and invest it, right? So those are the two things you can do with money. When it comes to spending, you have to have that discipline. When it comes to spending, you have to be disciplined, right? And have a budget, keep a track record. When it comes to investing, you have to be patient, very patient, and which is the major issue I've noticed with Gen Zs and millennials today, right? People of my age, actually. So when I say Gen Zs and millennials, it makes me look like I'm talking in past tense. So yeah, it's one thing that I've noticed, right? And I can boastfully say that I've never invested in anything and basically lose money on it. Like, there is a reason why that's so. There's a reason. Yeah, it's a career. It's a career choice. It's something I do as a career, right? I'm an investment manager, so I've learned that trick and I apply that personally to my life, right? And again, I think that's one thing that people need to learn: patience. Like, I've seen people, they want to double money like within 2 days or 3 days, and I'm like, oh God. Like, you're already setting yourself up for failure, because again, there's one simple rule of thumb that people know already. You know this already. Everybody listening to this thing, you probably know this already. That if it's too good to be true, then it's probably too good to be true. That's a simple life hack, right? That will also apply to our financing. But let me go back to what I was saying. When it comes to I'm going to spend more time. I'm going to spend most of my time on the investing part, but I just want to wrap up on the spending part. Right, learn to have a track record. Like I said, try to do most of your transaction on maybe bank transfers and everything. Try to do that. Then one thing I tell people as well, which is very key. Also, now I'm already transitioning to investing. Now this is the bridge between spending and investing. Now, once you've viewed that culture, you've noted what you're spending on, you've noted your excesses, and you've tried to cut down on them, you've highlighted them, and you have that discipline to continue, right? That is very important. That discipline to continue and make sure that you do not go out of that path. No, life happens as well. Don't forget, life happens. Like, there's sometimes that there's some you say, I don't want to incur these expenses, but life happens and you have to incur them. Then you have to be flexible enough to cater for that as well. But back to the conversation, there's this bridge. Now, this is the bridge I'm going to. Now, the bridge there is, and one example I like using for people is when you are a farmer. Like, there's this concept of seed time and harvest time, delay gratification, all of these things. We all know these things, right? Delay gratification, seed time, harvest time. Now, look at your money like a seed. See your money as a seed. Your money is a seed, right? Now, when it comes to investing, when you're as a farmer, when you want to plant, right, there is a time to, there is that time that you would have to till the ground, Now, that time to till the ground, now that's what I'm going to. That time to till the ground is you are still trying to find your feet, right? And this is what you don't hear everywhere. Like, and it's sometimes it leads to depression for people. Like, probably on a 200,000 salary at the moment, right, or a 250,000 salary, and your expense is about 200,000. It becomes hard to talk about savings and investing. And sometimes it might be depressing for you to think, oh, I'm not saving. I'll tell you, like, one thing is, again, remember, this thing is personal. It is personal, right? And one of the major, and back to the concept of debt, I'm going to be flying around a whole lot, but just pick what you need to pick. Very important, right? Now, when it comes to concept of debt, I mentioned that debt is not bad. Debt is not bad in a true sense. And one of the kind of debts that is very important, that is very good, even for the economy of Nigeria, for instance, we'll say, oh, it's better you borrow to do what? To incur capital expenditure rather than, incurring recurrent expenditure. The same way for personal, for individuals, right? It's better you borrow for things that will increase your earning capacity in the future. Do you get? It is, you might be in a situation where you want to write an exam and you don't have that money, and you probably have to use leverage, right? And you know that if I write this exam, this exam is going to give me that profile, improve my profile such that I'm going to get a better job, that I'm going to move from earning 200K salary to 500K salary. Do you get? So you can take on debt for such an adventure. I do encourage people to do that. Like, take on debt for certain, but don't take on debt to buy iPhone. Don't take on debt to buy consumables. That's what you don't want that for yourself, because it does not. That iPhone would most probably not increase your earning capacity in the future, right? It's going to take out from you, right? And again, you might be an influencer. Again, let me put
of course.
a disclaimer. So you might be a social media influencer. So what's it called? iPhone might be very important for you. So again, it's a relative statement. But generally, I would not encourage that. I would encourage, doing things, borrowing money to increase your future earning capacity. That is as simple as that. And that's why we say, even in the general economic sense, right? Borrow money to spend on capex, because capex will improve future revenue for the government. Because if you are incurring borrowing money to spend on building road, that road that you have built is going to now improve earning capacity for the populace and all of that. So that's very important. So please note this very important rule of thumb. So I'm moving down to the investing part, right? Now, one thing I tell people about investing, and which is the place where I was talking about the example of farming. Now, when it comes to investing, you have to have patience. I've said this before. Now, the patience in this sense is that a lot of people want to double their money in a year. And I'm always like, oh God, like, can you just be patient? Can you just, there's the pyramid for wealth accumulation. There's a stage where you build capital. Like all you are after is just building your capital, right? And for most people that are at the entry level stage, at the mid-level career, what that stage is for building capital, to be honest. Because if you're still on 200K, 300K, 500K in this Nigeria, your concern should just be about preservation of capital, building your capital, building a wealth, building that discipline, building a stamina, right? And back to that illustration, right? When you plant a seed, you don't expect to start harvesting that same day. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. Like you plant a seed today as a farmer, you don't expect to reap your fruit in 2 days, in 3 days. No, you have to be patient. You have to water that plant. You have to, check it. You have to, ensure that everything is in right order. You have to do proper, even before you go into farming. Another thing is, even before you go into farming as a person, probably you never study agriculture. You have to do proper research. You don't just jump into farming and say, I want to start farming tomorrow. Do you get? I can't just wake up tomorrow and say I want to start pig farming tomorrow. Before I can do that, I have to have done a proper research. I have to have done a proper research. And that's what, when it comes to investing, you have to do proper research. And I notice that people don't do that. People just hear, oh, my friend said that, oh, they put money in this thing and they got 30% return in 6 months. Good. They jump on it. That's not it. You need to ask yourself a lot of questions. And we're going to look at some of those questions later today. So you don't expect to, and for instance, if you plant a coconut tree, you're planting a coconut tree. What, our goal is different. For some people, what they want to harvest is corn. Or some people, what they want to harvest is probably something that will come out in 3 months, right? For another person, is a coconut tree that will take 3-4 years to get to maturity stage. You need to know yourself. Very important. You need to know yourself when it comes to investing and everything. You need to know who you are. Is very, very important. Don't just follow the trend. Don't just follow people. My friend said. Your friend might be that kind of person that all they're after is that what they're looking to germinate or what they're looking to harvest is just corn, which will just take 3 months to be harvested. But for you, it might be that I want to have a coconut tree. Another person is like, I want to have a plantation. For another person is, I want to have a farmland that is sufficient to feed me. Another person is, I want to have a plantation that is sufficient to feed me and feed a lot of people. Do you get? So there's that patience. You don't expect that somebody that wants to plant a coconut tree, for instance, and planted the seed today is not expecting the return in 3 months, in 4 months. No, they have to have that patience to wait 1, 2, 3 years. Do you get? So that's the same way when it comes to investing. You have to know yourself. You have to know the goal, your objective that you're trying to attain, right? Is very, very important when it comes to investing. Now, we've talked about the fact that you need to look at your expenses, and I just have to look through what I have here. Now, there's this thing that I tell people, right? People talk about investing. And if I tell people actually, like today, like on this call, like let me just do a sample survey quickly, in another 1 minute. I want you to tell me when you hear investing, what are the kind of things that you can invest in? Like if you can drop a chart, I'll be interested. Like this is a quick survey, and you'll be surprised, you'll be shocked at the next thing I'm going to say, right? I just want to hear from you guys. Drop it in the chat box. What are the kind of things that you can invest in? What are the kind of things you think you can invest in? Let's do that quickly. Can we do that in 1 minute? Like drop it in my love life. Oh, interesting. In real estate. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Stocks, okay, interesting. I've seen an interesting answer already. BTC, Bitcoin, yeah, interesting. Yeah, Bitcoin. Any other one? Agriculture, yeah. So there's this thing now. I've done a sample of interest. Akito, you don't get me. Anyway, so I've done a sample survey. Oftentimes, the surprising thing when I do this survey, I think I got interesting answer on this particular conversation, which tells me that a lot of people are thinking ahead. Actually, I like the person that said love life. To be honest, I see my love life as an investment as well. Actually, like I can, and I will go into that actually. And one of the things that I notice that people talk when they think about investing, they think narrowly about financial instruments. Ordinarily, that's the first thing that jumps to mind. They think about debt instruments like maybe commercial paper, treasury bills. They think about stocks. They think about Bitcoin. That's currency. All of these things, financial instruments. That's what they think about. But there's other kind of investment. And when I talk to entrepreneurs, I see entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneurs invest in their business, like so you can own a business, and that's your own investment. So you don't need to pressure yourself and go the cliche way that I need to invest in fixed income instruments and all of those things. If your business is your own investment, then own it with your full chest and do it, right? And plow back profit, plow back income into for that particular reason, right? And that's very important. Business is one investment. The other one is education. I think for most early starters, I think that's one of the biggest investments you can have. Trust me, like one of the biggest investments that I've had in my life is my education. Like it has opened doors and doors and doors. So education is one of the biggest investments you can have. And education is not, you don't necessarily have to sit down in a class to, when I'm talking about education, it doesn't necessarily mean university. It means that learning a skill. Learning a skill is also an education, right? Maybe you're into, financial management, or you're into one industry, you pick up a skill, how to code, how to design, how to do these things that can even earn you some passive form of income, like skills, learning skills, right? That's education, like improve yourself. And also maybe within your career, right? There are things that you can still invest in within your career, within say what you're doing. And sorry, I lost my chain of thoughts. Apologies. So basically, there is education that you can also invest in. And I think I'm going to sound that out here on this call. Like, please invest in your education. Invest in your education, because because you see some rules, and this is very important. This is what I missed, right? You see some rules. They will say, oh, MBA. They will say ICANN is the minimum requirement. If you don't have ICANN, even if you have 5 years or 10 years experience, you can't access that opportunity, right? And those are rules that would probably attract the GSUS kind of what's it called, GSUS kind of compensation, right? And those are things that would improve your earning power, right? And one thing I tell people, the next thing I'm going to talk about is think percentage. Think percentage. This is a very, very, I would say one of the major things that have helped me in my journey is, I think, percentage. And I'll explain what I mean when I say think percentage. Now, when I say think percentage, I see people, they were think percentage when it comes to investing. Think nominal value when it comes to spending. Now, I would explain. Think nominal value when it comes to spending. Think percentage when it comes to investing. That has worked for me a lot. And I would explain what I mean by this. I see people, they go from 200K salary to 500K salary, right? And suddenly, they start spending on other things, One of the easiest way, and this is like a life hack. I don't know, you have to cut your coat according to your clothes, right? Now, yeah. What I do is nobody's saying don't leave a new status, right? Because you've moved from 200K to 500K. Definitely, you need to show some status change. Maybe in your dressing, in whatever way you want to show, maybe buying iPhone, that might be a status change for you. Like, I just want to show that I'm no longer where I used to be, or buy a car, those are status change kind of spending. Now, and the point I'm trying to make with this is think nominal value. Now, when you move from 200K, maybe when you were on 200K, your total spending on a monthly basis was like 150K, right? You have spare of 50 that you can invest and save. Now, if you move from 200K to 500K, you don't go and think percentage, please. Don't think percentage. Now, 150 as a ratio of 200 is about maybe 80% of your income that you're spending. Then the remaining 20% is what you have for savings, right? Or even more than 80%. Now, if you think percentage in that wise, so you will want to do 80% of my 500K is what I want to spend. No, please don't do that. What I try to do is I try to move from 150K, right, was what I was spending on a monthly basis. I might just move that to 200K, which was my former salary. right? And I moved that to, so now I've increased it, I've bumped it up by 50K. Rather than thinking percentage, I'm thinking nominal value and maybe 250K even. And now I have 250K to spare. I've moved from, now see what I've happened. I've moved from having 50K to spare to moving to 250K to spare. Do you get? So that's one of the simplest way to grow wealth, to build wealth, right? Just move that way. And when it comes to investing, and I say percentage, think percentage in the sense that when you are investing, now you have a disposable income of 250 in this scenario. You've moved from having a disposable income of 50,000 to 150,000. Now think percentage when it comes to your disposable income. Now I think about my disposable income 150K. Okay, I have spare cash. What disposable income is after my necessities have been taken care of, right? For my income on that month, for that month, what do I have left? That's my disposable income. Now I think about it in 250K is left. I don't invest the whole 250K, trust me. Like, as much as I tend to say, oh, I'm very disciplined, I don't invest the whole 250K. What I do is I can say, okay, I want to invest out of that, my disposable income, I want to invest 80% of it, or I want to invest 60% of it. Again, don't use this as a template or formula. It's different for people. Like, because for you, for instance, that your disposable income, you might have family, you might have, uncle, sister that you are also catering for. And, you have to account for all of these unique circumstances. This is what you call unique circumstances. Now, for me, I just say, okay, 250K is my spare cash now. I'm going to do 80% of that. So I need to plug into something else. My battery is running low. Let me just use my phone. Apologies, just a minute.
All right, no problem. Before Binti returns, if you have any question, you just drop it in the chat box.
So
you have to mute one.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to reduce the volume for one. Yinka.
Is this okay now? I'm using my phone now.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah, so back to what I was saying, right? I was saying think percentage. Now, I look at my disposable income of 250K that is left, and I then say, okay, 80% of it is what I want to save. Now, that means I still have spare cash that I can still use to do some other things, maybe go out on the weekend, take people, just flex, Again, you might say 50% of it is what you want to invest, right? And as you're growing as you're building new capacity, as you're increasing your earning power, maybe you move from 500K to 700K, then that kind of approach again, you can move from spending your necessities of 200K to 300K. Now you have 400K to spare. Then out of that 400K, you're saving 50%. That is 200K every month. Yes. And this is one thing. One other thing that's very important is when it comes to investing, especially I'm going to say this because again, I'm a Christian, right? And I'm going to say one thing, which is very important. When it comes to tithing is the first of your monthly income. You take out of your first, before you spend at all, you have to take out your tithes, right? For those that practice the concept of tithing, right? And for those, and the same thing applies to investing. Before you spend at all, immediately you are collecting your income. Before you spend anything out of that income, invest. And that's one thing that has helped me a lot. Before I start spending out of my money, take my tithe out, take my investment out. So whatever I have left, I know that that's what I have to spend. Do you get? So this is very important because when you start to see, like, immediately the money is entering my account, bam, on that salary date, paying my tithe straight up because I don't want to spend. My tithe has to go first, then my investment amount goes to the next thing. How you fit save for 50K? Yeah. So again, that goes to, you can start small, right? You can start small. It's an habit, discipline. Even if it's 1,000 naira, you're saving, right? Yeah. It's very important. Even if it's 1,000 naira, saving is an habit. If you don't start now, trust me, when you start earning 200K, you might even find it difficult to save, to think saving, right? When I was still in university, I would normally save my money, right? And one medium that I use is savings account, which is the the most popular one back in the days. But today, there are other financial instruments that you can use, especially the mutual funds, to be honest.
Exactly.
It's always annoying when I see people have like 300K accounts. I'm always pissed.
As in,
Like, would you be carrying 200K in your account or 200K in the account? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like today, it doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, because you are running a risk. You're carrying 300K in your account. Let's say you are the kind of person that is still jumping buses, right? You're still jumping buses, and you're carrying, there's this one chance stuff, and they wipe your account, and you start crying like, oh, my account is gone. Like, it just doesn't make sense from that security perspective. It doesn't make sense, right? And from the perspective of even saving and discipline in itself, it doesn't make sense, to be honest. I would recommend that you leverage, especially for early starters like us and mid-level starters, because for there's a stage you get to that, and we're going to talk about risk appetite. There's a stage you get to, right, that what's it called? You can start to think beyond mutual funds, right? You can start to think beyond mutual fund. But at this level, when it comes to capital preservation and everything, if you do not have, because what mutual fund does to you, for those that don't know what mutual fund is a pool investment, right? That gives you access to securities that you normally not have access to, right? And it gives you access to professionals, like myself, like Akintoye, for instance. This is what we do for a living. Like, this is what we do. We do research. We scope the market for opportunity and help you to maximize value on your investment. So you don't have to think about, oh, how do I invest my money? Do you get? So you just put it in a mutual fund, and that mutual fund earns you better, far superior return than you would earn on a savings account. Because on a savings account, for instance, there are terms and conditions to savings accounts. Like, you have to, you don't have to take, I think, minimum of 3 withdrawals, right?
Yeah, 3 per month, 3 times per month.
Hello?
yeah, you said 3 per
Yes,
month.
3 times per month.
Right. Once you make more than three withdrawals per month, you forfeit your interest. Like, that doesn't make sense. Put it in a money market fund. A money market fund, for instance. There are so many money market funds that are earning 9% today, 9%, 10% today. If you put this and you even adhere to their rules and all of those things, what you are going to get is about 4.2%. 4.2%. Can you imagine? So you can put that same thing in a money market fund. And money market fund, actually, in nature and characteristics, is almost similar to a savings account. Do you get?
Very
you can
low risk.
Get your money within 24 hours.
Yeah.
Within 24 hours, you just have to have more patience. Unlike bank accounts that you can liquidate immediately, right? Your savings account, you can quickly make a transfer on, right? But for money market fund, you might have to wait 24 hours before the fund hits your account. And that's why it's even secure, right? Because if you carry your phone around, you have your money market, you have your money invested in a money market fund, for instance, right? If maybe God forbid, there is an issue and somebody say, oh yeah, your phone, your money or your life, and you say my money, collect my money, right? How much you have in my account? 10K in my account. I'll just take the 10K. If you say, okay, transfer the amount you have in your money market fund, I'll transfer it. Oh, yeah, how do you want me to transfer 24 hours, right? So before you can get the money, once I've gone, I'll go and call my institution and say,
don't try it.
Yes, so it's very important. I think from that perspective, even from the nature of the country that we are in and the insecurity issue, it just doesn't make sense. You carry a lot of cash in your bank account. Like, when I see if there's no reason why you're doing that, maybe you have an urgent expense that is coming up that you probably need to satisfy, right? And maybe there's a 200K obligation that is coming up tomorrow, and you need debt to liquidate that amount into your account today to be able to meet that obligation that is coming up tomorrow. I don't see a reason why you should be having as much as that amount in your account. Again, this is a relative statement. If you're a business owner, this applies to business owner. This applies to individuals. Please note this. Like, for a business owner, you can carry as much as you like. I don't know. Again, yeah, you want to say something, Akitoye?
Yeah. Sorry to cut you. So I wanted Opeyemi Oladeji to drop our email address on the chat box, and also our YouTube page. You could drop it there. Some people may have questions after the talk has been ended, so please just drop it there. Can you confirm if you heard me, Opeyemi?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yinka, please go ahead. So,
Okay.
Yinka, you have like 10 minutes more because we have a lot of questions. I myself have like 7 questions for you. So, and I'm sure every other person here we also have questions. So we just try to like keep it very short and then so that we can go to questions.
Yeah, I'll just wrap up now. I think I've said something very important. Invest before you spend. Invest before you spend. This is very, very important. And you need to decide ahead, right? That decision needs to happen, before your salary even comes. What I want to be investing, right, is 200K per month, right? Out of my 500K, I want to be investing 200K, right, per month. And if you move from 200K, from 500K to 1 million per month, for instance, maybe that's what you're now earning, 1 million per month. You might start to invest half of that, right? For instance, we're still going to talk about securities. Importantly is your risk appetite. I think that's what people don't know. People don't talk about risk appetite a lot, right? I talk to average youths and they tell me, oh, I have that risk appetite. I have that risk appetite. I can take risk. I'm willing to take risk. And I'm like, and when they lose money, they come crying and they're like, oh, this thing, I lose money on it. But I thought you said you have the risk appetite, right? So risk appetite is about ability and willingness to take risk. There are two sides to risk appetite, right? Do you have the ability to take the risk? And are you able? Like, that's ability, right? Are you able to take that risk? And are you willing to take that risk? Oftentimes, you see people say, oh, they are willing to take risks, which is able to take a risk. That's very important. There's a difference between ability and willingness. Willingness is I'm willing, which is willingness is always subjective. Ability is much more objective. Ability is, am I able to take risks? Am I able to lose my money? Because risk is simply saying, are you willing to take some loss in your quest for search for high return? Are you willing to take some loss? If you are willing to take some loss, then we can say you have that risk appetite, right? So maybe you have a moderate risk appetite, and the risk appetite that you have will determine the kind of investment you should be doing. The kind of risk appetite that you have will determine the kind of investment that you should be doing. But trust me, if I do a sample opinion on this call, a lot of people will tell me, oh, because I'm a youth, I'm still young, I have that risk appetite, right? I have the risk appetite to do Bitcoin. I have the risk appetite to do currency trading. And I'm like, when you lose money, because these are money sucking investment, right? When you lose money, don't come back crying just because you've stated that you have the risk appetite. So it's very important that you are clear on what your risk appetite is. Is it average? Is it medium? Is it low? Right? And even if you have an average, for someone like me, I said I've never lost money because my risk appetite, they know me. I'm a money markets fund manager. That's the reason why they say I should go and manage money markets fund, is because they saw that this person's risk appetite, they've assessed me and they say this risk appetite of this guy is very low. So he's the kind of guy that can manage a money market fund, right? But there's somebody else that is high risk. One of my colleagues, that one who can do Bitcoin today, do stocks tomorrow, do US stocks. I don't have that appetite, right? So that it's very important. You need to know your appetite. And even in that, like I for instance, for myself, I trade US stocks. And in doing that, what I do is what I invest in my US stocks are things that I feel that if you go, you go. Do you get? And I'm doing that, I'm topping it up again and again and again. And that's what I'm going to. If you plant a seed, you don't just leave it and expect it to germinate. You water that seed, you water it, you go back there and water it and water it. That's the concept of that discipline. You need to consistently build that discipline in the sense that you are going back to water the seed that you've put under the ground, before you can harvest it. So if you invest 10K today, don't just stop there and say, I've invested 10K, I want that 10K to turn to 1 million. Do you get? If you have another 10K the next month, invest it. Compounding. That's the concept of compounding. Like the compounding power of what you call your persistence going back to water the plants would show that if you put two farmers, right, one that know water his plants and one that watered his plants, you see the difference clearly. We all know the difference, right? And if you see, we're not even talking about farming. Let's talk about animal rearing. If you see someone that is rearing an animal and is not feeding that animal, and the other one is feeding his animal, you see the difference. One will be very fat, the other will just be very lean. Do you get? So that's the same way in investing. If you invest 10K and you expect that thing to turn to 1 billion, my brother, you probably have to wait years, right? You probably have to, ojukokoro. That's, again, you have to be very disciplined. You don't have to have ojukokoro when it comes to investing. Cut your coat according to your clothes. Very important. And the three key questions that I tell people to ask when it comes to risk appetite: what do I plan to achieve from investing? Look back, sit back, and ask yourself that question. What do I plan to achieve from investing? Oh, my plan is is for marriage, right? I want to invest. I want to build capital. I want to save to be able to fund my marriage. I want to save to be able to buy a car. I want to save to be able to buy to build a house or to rent. That will determine the kind of asset class that you can invest in. Now, because mutual funds for money markets, for instance, they are within a year. So within a year, if you want to buy a car within a year, I would recommend putting your money in money market mutual fund. If you are looking to marry within a year, put your money in money market mutual fund. If you are looking to do anything within a year, put your money in a money market mutual fund, for instance. If you are looking to do something within 5 years, I would say consider bond fund or consider balance fund, which has a mix of equity, bond, and money market investment. So this will determine the kind of thing you can invest in. What are your financial goals? What are your financial goals? That's the next question. What are your financial goals? First one is, what do I plan to achieve from investing? What are my goals? And do I have the realistic timeline? Now, that timeline, I've already talked about it. Is it within a year? Is it within 2 years? Is it within 3 years that I want to do that thing? Then that will determine the kind of investment that you can do, right? And again, one thing I tell people is, before you invest in anything, remember I said I made the concept about researching. I talk about research, right? That before you even go into farming, before you say you want to go into farming, you need to do a couple of research. You can't just jump and wake up tomorrow and say I want to go into farming. You must have done some couple of due diligence, ask questions around, and because if you go and say I want to start farming and just start tilling the ground, maybe that ground is not a fertile ground to even use to farm, right? You already set yourself up for failure. You've already set yourself up for failure, right? By doing that. So you have to do a proper research around the farmland. What are the kind of investments? Who are their regulators? So that's the research, right? Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask questions, do research, use Google. As an investor, before you even rely on anybody else, right? They say they call themselves experts. No, before you rely on any experts, you yourself try to have a basic understanding. It's very important. Don't let anybody bamboozle you with big words. And when things are getting too complex, run. When things are getting, when they're telling you, is a Mazzini structure, we'll do this and this, what do you mean? Just explain it in simple terms. What are you investing in? How do you want to give me back my money? What's the underlying asset? Who are the people regulating you? Those are things, key questions that you need to ask. Don't let anybody advise you. Okay. Anyway, we'll go back. I think those are parts of questions that we're going to take. But generally, and the last thing I'm going to talk about, and this is where I'm going to stop, I'm going to talk about diversification. Now, I know this is like, I know some people will hear diversification and they cringe. They'll be like, diversification. Diversification is not, is one of those things that, what's it called? That people just used to bamboozle you. No, I don't think so. So there are different forms of diversification, right? And I'll quickly run through that, then would open the ground for questions and answer. No, there are different forms of diversification. There is the diversification, which is the common one that most people will know. The diversification, asset class diversification, right? That is, you can invest in equity, invest in different asset class, invest in bonds, invest in money market instruments, save some of your money. So those are asset class diversification. There's also security diversification. For instance, what I mean by security diversification is, for instance, for money markets fund, for instance, that can do more than a year, can do within a year. Within that class of asset class, there is fixed deposits, there is treasury bills, there's commercial papers, there's promissory notes. All of these are within the money market universe. So there's security diversification. So I don't necessarily have to overexpose myself to maybe just one of the kind of asset class within there. Do you get? So security diversification is very, very important. And the other thing is, there's also currency diversification. This is very important. And this is one thing I do today, like currency diversification, like as much as possible. And platforms like all these, what's it called? Bamboo, which other one is there? I know there are other ones like that are out there like that you can use and convert your naira to dollar, for instance. Currency diversification is very, very important. Especially do not invest your money in currencies that are positively correlated. Now, that's the technical term. The technical term is basically don't invest money in rice vest. Yeah, thank you, rice vest. Don't invest money your in currency that are positively correlated. That is, when something happens to that currency to naira, that same thing is going to happen to that other currency. So oftentimes Nigerian naira and dollar, they are inversely related. So I prefer to have some form of exposure to currency that are inversely related or correlated with the naira. So because my earning power is in naira, but I would like to have exposure in dollar related investments as well. So and mutual fund also comes to play here. But one thing that I think, mutual funds are also most times expensive, because most of the minimum requirements for mutual fund that are dollar based is like $10,000. You might not have that kind of size. So I recommend that you use rice vest, like the likes of rice vest, the likes of bamboo. Just sometimes, for me, for instance, there's sometimes that I put money on those platforms and I don't invest in it. I don't invest in shares, because I'm only basically just gaining from the currency appreciation. I started investing in bamboo when currency was 380. I started putting money on bamboo when currency was 380. Imagine when currency is today. If I pull out my money, like I've made a lot, like just by leaving cash I do on that platform. I've made a lot of money by doing that without even buying any equity investment. But you can as well buy equity investment if you know what you're buying, or you can, and most of these platforms now have fixed income investments. Then the last thing, which is also very important, and people don't talk about this one, that's the human capital and financial capital diversification. I'll quickly explain this. What this says is, do not invest in industry that you are earning your income from. This is very, very important. Or even if you're going to invest in industry that you're earning your income from, try to minimize to the minimum. For instance, I'm in the financial industry. I try as much as possible when I'm investing. My exposure to financial industry is very, very low. Maybe 10% of my exposure is in financial industry. And I'll tell you the reason. Imagine somebody that was in the aviation sector, right, during the COVID-19 pandemic, is a pilot, right? His earning was majorly from as a pilot, right? And COVID-19 pandemic hits, right? Maybe the person now bought equities. The equities that he bought were airline equities. That's what he bought during that period as well. Now, when pandemic hits, they laid off some pilots, and it affected a lot of pilots during that period. Now he has lost his source of income. Now the equity that he has invested in, because they are in the same industry, that's positive correlation between the equity he has invested in and the industry he's earning his primary income from. They are the same. Now he's losing money from two sides. He's losing money from being in that, what's it called, losing his job, and also in the equity he has invested in. So as much as possible, try to diversify. What's it called? I recommend to people, don't buy your employer stock. Don't buy your employer stock, because your employer is the one paying you your money. If anything happens to that employer, you're not going to have 100% exposure to your employer. Your employer now folded up. You've lost on two sides. You've lost on your investing side, and you've also lost on your income side. So try to diversify all of these things. It's very, very important. Very, very important. Try to diversify all of these things. So what other thing? I think those are the things, right? Just try to diversify your portfolio, asset diversification, security diversification, and your industry diversification in terms of where you're working and what you're investing in. Try to diversify that as well. Don't if you're in the oil and gas industry, try to minimize your exposure to oil and gas stocks, for instance, or even if it's debt instruments. Don't go and lend money to oil and gas players, right? So try to diversify on that front. And this kind of advice is mostly important for those that are more as the medium level, salary level kind of. So please, it's very important. So I think this is where I'm going to stop. There are still more things that we can talk about. Maybe we can have more session later on this, but I think these are just basic things that I believe people should know when it comes to personal finance and this journey. Yeah. So I'm open to answering our question. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yinka. I mean, that was very insightful, very, very insightful. And I know we all enjoyed the talk. I know some people just joined in, but I mean, they are going to benefit from the questions asked, while also our YouTube channel has been shared. So this video will be uploaded. So in case you missed out, you can always just go through our YouTube channel, then click the video and watch it. I mean, it was very insightful. and it's a very important topic. A lot of people are struggling from not knowing how to do personal finance appropriately. So this time we're going to open our chat for more questions. I think we only have one question now. We're going to take that. But if you have any other question about personal finance, please just feel free to drop it there, and we're going to move on from that place. So I think we should just start with the first question. I myself have 8 questions here. Some from hearing from you. So hopefully you're going to learn more. So the first question is, what's your take on OctaFX?
Like I said, so OctaFX is into what's it called? OctaFX is into currency trading and all of those things. Do I have the risk appetite to do OctaFX? Personally, I don't. And again, that's what I'm saying. You need to know yourself, and those are the key questions. Personal finance is personal. There's no rule of thumb. I've heard people say, "Oh, what you need to save is 20% of your income." I'm like, you don't know. For me, it might be 10%. For somebody else, it might be 50%. Do you get? So there's no. Somebody might be 80% of my income is what I want to save. Do you get? So you can't just say, "Oh, what you need to do is 20%," and that's common, and that's what they call the 50-30 rule. They say 50-30 rule. I'm like, I beg. I don't follow all those templates. I don't like templates. So know yourself. Like I said, if you think you have the risk appetite to do OctaFX and you understand the risk that comes with OctaFX, all well and good. But personally, if you ask me, I don't do OctaFX because I don't have the risk appetite to do it. And personally, because I don't even understand, because it takes a lot. I know when it comes to currency pair, it takes a lot. Currency pair trading, you need to have an understanding of the macroeconomy. You need to have an understanding of those drivers. I work in the financial industry, and I know that I don't have that, capacity to be doing that. So what I do personally is, I know what I do is traditional investments. I do traditional investments in mutual funds, in equity, in fixed income instruments, and I can use one stone to kill two birds, right? Because I do that actively on my own as a career. I can translate that to what I'm doing for myself personally. So if that's what you do as a career, maybe for you, what you do as a career is OctaFX. You have an understanding of that OctaFX platform. You have an understanding of how to game the system or make money out of it. All well and good. But I would advise you, when I see investment instrument bring 100K, we have a formula that works, right? That can use on OctaFX to make 300K, and will give you 250K at the end of the hour. Advice you run. Trust me, because let me tell you the reason why I say you should run. If anybody say they have a guarantee formula that work on currency, just run. I'm telling you as an investment professional right now, run, because currency is not something that you can easily predict. Is not, because there are lots of factors that are driving currency movement. So there are lots of factors, and they are changing on the go. So if anybody say they have one formula that can game the system, just run. So, but if anybody tells you that, oh, come and invest your money, there is this risk that you can lose your money. But we are also saying that we have a formula that we can use that, would get you 20% or 30% of your, and you can even do better. Maybe you should consider that. But if anybody, I'm guaranteeing you on currency trading, and using the word guarantee, just run. That's my advice for you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yinka. So I think another thing that people underestimate a lot is compounding and being patient, just like you mentioned. Because some time ago I was doing a kind of simulation. I wanted to know, we talk about compounding a lot. How effective is this thing? So I said, let me assume that a Nigerian parent wants to invest for his or her child, and they want to do that investment consistently on a monthly basis. They don't have much. They want to do it on a consistent basis, and they want to give back that investment to the child in 20 years. So I made an assumption, let me assume on the average that most parents in Lagos can afford to invest 5,000 on a monthly basis. And then I look at this money, in a year, that would be 60,000. In the 20 years, they would have contributed 1.2 million for that child. And then I assume that if that investment generates 10% annually and the interest compounds on a monthly basis, what would be the value of that 1.2 million that was invested in that 20 years? And I discovered that it was around 3.8 million, which is quite significant. That means that the parent would have made a gain of 2.6 million for the child within that period of time. So I mean, a lot of people underrate being patient. How much do you think that people need to start early investment? With having a lot of patience, even though the amount that the amount they're investing, it means a lot to them, or maybe it's not that much, but they think that in the long run, they feel that because of what they have been hearing about compounding interest, they will be able to generate something huge, in the long run. So how much is it important for people to even start, even though if it is just 5,000 naira that you can invest on a consistent basis, on a monthly basis?
Yeah, I think thank you. Like that was spot on, right? It's very important. Start early. Like I said, like start early as possible. Even if it's 1,000, you can start saving. Start saving. Build that stamina, build that culture. And the concept of compounding interest, like personally, like I don't even look at it from a compounding interest perspective, honestly. Like the way I see things, I think there is this contentment. You have to be contented as well, right? Live within your means. Don't try to go far above and try to reach out for what you don't have. Like I think the concept of contentment is very, very important, even in investing, alongside patience, right? Because oftentimes it's the lack of contentment in what you have that leads you to being greedy and searching for more and being impatient. Do you get? So if you are contented that okay, all I want to do, like it's simple, all I want to do, I don't even care how much it is growing. To be honest, I don't care. I just want to save 10K per month. I just want, how much is 10K? You're just saving 10K per month or one. Again,
By
this is a
save,
really
you mean invest, right?
eh?
By save, you mean invest.
Invest. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. So
All
again, I use interchangeably, please. So invest 1,000 every month, and you build that wealth. And one thing I tell people, right, is that just be disciplined. Like just build that stamina. Like there's that satisfaction that comes with you look at the month 2, month 1 you save 1,000, month 2 you save 2,000, month 3 you save another 1,000, month 4 you save. It's satisfying. I don't know how people feel. Like it's satisfying for me. That's a trade on its own. And that's why for me personally, I try as much as possible. If I spend anything at all out of my salary or out of my income whatsoever, I try as much as possible to take out my tithes and my save and my investments. Then every other thing I can now, undo. There's black tax, the concept of black tax, and all of those things. Because black tax is our family taxing us, our brothers and sisters taxing us. But if you have invested that money, right, your brother will not even stumble on your phone and see, this guy have 200K and he's going to tax you. So if your brother sees 200K on bank balance, he will come and meet you that, bro, how far? Give me 10K now. That's how you start. But if your brother every time you open your phone, he's seeing 10K, you're like, it's like this my uncle is very broke. They don't know what's going on. So it's very important that you have to understand this thing. Discipline is very important. It's like when it comes to personal finance, when it comes to this journey of personal finance, it is you. You determine the journey. Nobody can determine the journey for you. No, like I've seen people that was telling me that, Yinka, I want you to hold my hands, and I'll be like, see, you have to first within yourself decide that I will do this. If you don't decide that, you might even do it for 2 months, 3 months, and you just see yourself you're going back to your business. So please and please, it's a personal conviction, a personal decision that you have to make and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to follow through, and probably are tracking it. And also it's very important that you have probably a friend that you are also accountable to, that probably you can share. But I know it's very difficult in today's world. So have such a friend that you can be disclosing, this is how much I save and all of those things that. But again, it should be good if you have that kind of person that you can work with as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that detailed response. So I'm asking questions. I'm trying to delay just to give room for people to ask more questions. I have a lot of questions here. So I'll just go straight into the second one. So because for some people it is just peer pressure, they want to do the same thing other people are doing. How important is it in taming that peer pressure, and also being able to ensure that you are not, whatever decision you're making in terms of your personal finance, you are not being influenced by you trying to impress other people or trying to match what other people are doing?
Again, I think the same answer still applies, to be honest. Discipline. It's that simple, right? And that was how I started. If you remember how I started this conversation, I said two key principles, right? you have to be disciplined, very, very important, and patient, right? Those two things, they are things that they apply to, apart from personal finance, they apply to every other things in life. Even when it comes to, your career growth and everything, there are times that you have to just be disciplined. Discipline is a common, okay. Discipline is a very common, what's it called? Very, very, very important character traits that you need to have, right? Even I remember somebody talked about investing in their love life, right? Again, discipline is very important, right? If you marry somebody that, for instance, that does not have that discipline, it might affect your goal, your personal finance journey. Do you get? So it's very important that you invest in that person and that person comes to that knowledge, that discipline themselves, right? Before you go into marriage with that person. And for those that are already in marriage as well, yeah. What's wrong? Oh, okay. Sorry. So for those that are already in that journey as well, you need to understand that it takes discipline to do most of these things, to turn a blind eye to peer pressure and say, all my friends, they are maybe currently what you can afford is a Toyota Camry, right? And all your friends, they're already riding Lexus Jeep, and you're like, all my friends are already riding Lexus Jeep. I need to go and buy my own Lexus, right? And you now withdraw all the money, all the savings that or the investment that you've made, and you're now going to liquidate everything and go and buy Lexus Jeep. Well done. Well done, Ma. You get. So discipline is very important. Like, they're just, this journey is personal, right? Some people, they have, they call some people, there's this thing they call them trust fund child. There are some people that are trust fund child and endowment child. They have their parents, the backing of their parents that is supporting them. For some people, you are the one even supporting your own parents. So you can't be comparing yourself to those kind of people. Like, when it comes to personal finance journey, there's some people, they don't pay rent. They don't pay rent. They have somebody that's taking care of their rent, right? So, and you are the one paying your own rent. So you can't compare. So please, don't compare yourself to anybody. Even in life journey, don't compare yourself. In career growth and everything, it's good to look at other people and say, oh, I like what this person is doing. I pray that one day I'm able to do the same thing. Oh, this person is riding maybe as an iPhone 14, the latest one. I pray that one day I'll be able to afford it, right? So, and affordability comes in. After I've done my investment, I've invested whatever I have. Can I still use that to be able to afford that iPhone 14? Do you get that concept? So discipline is, I think, is the constant thing to be able to also withstand peer pressure and everything. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Yinka, for that. I think we'll just take the last question. We have spent about an hour here. I mean, it looks like just 5 minutes, I'm enjoying it a lot. So let's just take this last question. That finance guy said, can Yinka please speak to that potent compound interest idea using the annuity formula?
Yeah. So, okay. I can't use annuity formula. But the way to think about it, which is quite simple, right, is the fact that what's it called? The multiplier effect, right? You invested 1,000 naira. Now, if you leave that 1,000 naira till year end, like you not top it up, right? That 1,000 naira will grow by 4%. Let's say, for instance, it will grow to 1,000, maybe 14 naira, or 4 naira. Either ways, right? It grows to that level. But if you do 100 naira, for instance, 100 naira over 12 months period, alone by that concept of 100, by that you just breaking it down and building that discipline of doing it on a monthly basis and not just doing it one-off, right? You already 100 naira on a monthly basis gives you 1.12, which has already beat 1,000 naira one-time saving, one-off saving. Yeah, that's the place of discipline. That's what I'm saying about discipline, consistency, like ability to stay consistent. Yeah. Like, I've not added the return concept. Now, if you save 100 naira, for instance, and so annual, and this get complicated. I don't want to go into the math. So annual interest is 12%. Annual interest is 12%. That means on a monthly basis, annual interest is 12%. On a monthly basis, you are earning 1%. Right? If annual interest is 12%, that 12% divided by 12 months, that's 1% on a monthly basis. So you save 100 naira today, right? For 1 month, you earn 1% on it, right? That 1% has increased on that 100 naira. You top it up by another 100 naira. Now you have 200 and the interest. Now that 200 naira plus the interest is now being reinvested at 1%. Do you get? So if you do this and continue in that way, number one, for the person that have invested 1,000 naira at the beginning of the year, which might be a lot at the beginning of the year, and one-off investment, it's just one-off investment. All well and good. At the end of the year, you get 1,004 naira, right? For those that has done 100 naira, which might be even meager, right? He has gotten 1,2 plus interest of say 4%, which is 1,2 something. Now, for the person that have consistently done 100 naira and is not saving, is investing maybe in a money market mutual fund that is earning 12% per annum, for instance, that person will get maybe at the end of the year 113 or something. Do you get? So that's just the concept. But I tell people, like at this stage, what I do tell people, especially for those that are at their entry level or early of their career, early stage of their career, care less about the return in that sense. Care more about capital preservation. Care more about your ability to build your capital. Care more about moving from, set a goal for yourself. Like, yeah, I'm earning in 1,000. I want to become a millionaire. Now, now you hit that million goal. Like, see your first million. Like you were earning in maybe 200K, and you were able to, you were disciplined enough to be able to, accumulate an investment that is worth 1 million. Now move from then on to say, oh, I want to earn my first 5 million. Set target milestones like that. Milestones like that are what makes investing interesting. Right? But again, be flexible enough. Life happens. And what I mean by life happens is, there are some circumstances. I've seen people where, they save and life happen in the sense that maybe health issue, maybe your mom or your dad or somebody related, and you needed to sort that out. Don't say, oh, they say that we should not touch our investments. And that's health condition now deteriorates into, and maybe the person pass on and everything. No, don't do that. You can liquidate all your investment for that purpose. That's why you're saving for. The concept of investing is to be able to, when that urgent need comes, to be able to meet those urgent needs. So be flexible enough as well in that discipline and in that patience. Be flexible enough to also, cater for these things. And for instance, another thing that I've mentioned this before, and I'm going to say it again. There's some investment, especially in your education. Maybe you've invested and you've built up 1 million. It's a very big struggle, especially for those, and I'm speaking to those that are early guys, right? Early career guys. Maybe you've never saved like up to 1 million before, right? And now your target is to save 1 million. Now you now save 1 million. There's now one course that you need to do. That, like for instance, CFA, for those of us in the finance industry, and that CFA is going to take a huge chunk of your money, like 700K. You are struggling now. Me that I've saved 1 million, my 1 million will now turn to 300K, and now start again. Is investment, saving in that education investment on its own, because that saving in that CFA, if you get your CFA designation, you might move from earning 200K or 500K to earning 1 million per month, and that drastically improves your earning power. So please and please, let's be flexible in that context, right, of how we think about investment. You can invest in your business, you can invest in education, and you can invest in financial securities, right? So those are the things that I feel that you can invest, and you can invest in your partner, right? Invest in your partner as well, right? Because if you are two individuals, again, I'm not married, so I might not be the best sharer, for instance, to give more perspective. No, I'm not married yet, but if you are two individuals, you are earning 500K before, maybe your wife is also earning 500K. So that's huge combo, right? Come together and plan have a proper plan, put a proper plan to your earnings, right? And be disciplined, have a disciplined approach. Both of you, have a goal. Don't just live life haphazardly, like as money comes, we spend. No, have a goal. Always have a goal, like a milestone that you're trying to hit. Okay, we're trying to rent a new apartment. We're trying to buy a new car for the family. We're trying to buy our own first land. Have those goals. Those are goals that make investing interesting. If you don't have a goal attached to your investing, and this is what I'm going to stop. If you don't have a goal attached to investing is going to be very boring. Trust me. If you don't have a goal attached to investing, it's going to be very boring. So what I mean by have a goal. If your goal is, I want to invest, I want to buy my first landed property in Ogun State, where land is actually cheaper than in Lagos, at least that would be my name. I will know that I have that thing. That might be a goal. Start to invest. It makes it very interesting. When you know you're about to hit that milestone, it gets, that adrenaline pump that, I'm the one that did this. And you now buy the land eventually. You now see the landed property. You're happy. And you go again. Okay, what's the next thing? I want to build it. I want to build a 3-bedroom apartment on that land. You start over again. Okay, let's continue that investment cycle, right? And platforms like Cowrywise also, again, these are free adverts, right? Cowrywise, those are good platforms you can use for mutual funds. There are a lot of mutual funds listed on the platform as well that you can see on Cowrywise, for instance. And I like Cowrywise for the concept of the goal. They have all these target savings, kind of target investing kind of stuff that they do. But for myself, I work with Valley Alliance Asset Management. Toyo works with Codros, and these are asset managers. There are many asset managers out there. Just reach out to any one of us, ask questions. Google is your best friend. Ask questions, right? Mutual funds, money market fund. That's the one I recommend most for most people at this stage. Like, ensure, like, don't have a lot of money in your bank account, please. Like, it's risky. I don't even like the concept of it. Like, having when I reach out to friends, and again, this another funny thing I'm going to say, right? Sometimes you need support, and you're like, oh, alpha guy, I need like 100K. If you are the kind of guy that's always 100K, you give immediately down. 100, another person comes, you have 100K. You are good though. The boy is good. In Yoruba, that's what they say. So they'll be like, yeah, you're good. But if that's the discipline, right? If your friend comes to you and guy, I have this thing invested. But again, depends on relationship and what the person needs it for. And that, okay, the person actually needs it. You tell the person, you know what, give me a day or two. I'm going to get that across to you. Because that person, that shows you a sense of someone right? Rather than just apparently having money and you're that kind of person that can pull, anybody can pull away and from. Thank you. Hi, Toye.
Yeah, hi, Yinka. Sorry, I had to join with my phone. My stem battery was running very low. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you too.
All right. Okay, are you done with that comment?
Yes, I am. I am done.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. So before we just wrap up the show, actually, Yinka mentioned something. Some emergencies can come in. So that is why you need to get insurance. Get insurance for your car if you have a car. Get insurance for your health. So that when there are emergencies that relate to your own health, you don't need to spend out of your investment. When the emergency related to your car, you don't need to be spending out of your investment. Just put a chunk of your money into all those things. So it's very crucial for you to be able to avoid any major loss. Some people might just do insurance cover of maybe 100K, and the benefit they will be getting from that cover could be as much as 1 million. But if you don't, let's say you need maybe health cover of around 1 million, and then maybe something happens and then you don't have that insurance cover. That means that you need to go and look for that investment that you have made, then take from it. Whereas if you had invested maybe 100K for your health, you won't need to touch that one name from your investment. So that's also very crucial. Also, if you have any questions that you want to ask apart from this, if you check the chat box, you will see our email there, cerebralstories@gmail.com. Also, click our YouTube channel and subscribe, so that anytime we post any video, you can always see it and, look at it. I mean, we have a lot of videos that, very interesting that are coming. We have done 3 now, and 3 of them are very, 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 very excellent talk show. So just go to our YouTube channel, go and check that. I'm sure you will enjoy it. And if you have anything you want us to talk about, any topic you want us to discuss, you could just send us email. I want you to discuss on this. I don't really understand this. Can you talk about this? So it's just basically about, life talk generally, anything about life, anything about marriage, anything about career, anything about, investment, finance, anything you can think of that relates to life. You think that, you want to learn about this and you don't really have much on it, just drop it for us on the email. We are going to definitely respond to you. So on the back of this, I would like to bring the show to a close, and thanks everyone for joining in. We really appreciate you, and hopefully next time, I think next month, the last Saturday of next month, we're going to have another one, and we'll be expecting everybody to participate. And so on the back of this, I would like to wish everybody a perfect day. Enjoy your weekend. Pray for us. Tomorrow when you go to church or whatever you believe in, just pray for us. And the major thing is that we hope to be seeing you consistently. We'll be hosting this talk show every month. The last Saturday, just be expectant. You can reach out to anybody. You can reach out to Yinka. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Okoyemi. Anybody through which you got this invite, just reach out to them. They will let you know as the program is unfolding. You'll be able to participate in future events. So thank you, everyone.